Good morning. I'd like to welcome you to our Friday morning edition of our Anchored in the Word morning reflection. And these are our final thoughts for the week. And I hope that the things that I share with you as we reflect on everything we've talked about this week will be a help. Again, we're in Psalm 12. And so we're going to read the text again one more time. And the topic we're addressing is encouragement for a dark time. And the times that we're living in are difficult, though every generation of people has lived in difficult times since the fall. And so we need to think about our time and how to live and function in this time with a thoroughly biblical viewpoint. So let's read the text again, Psalm 12, and then I'll give you some final thoughts. Help, Lord, the godly man ceaseth, for the faithful fail from among the children of men. They speak vanity, every one with his neighbor. With flattering lips and with a double heart do they speak. The Lord shall cut off all flattering lips, and the tongue that speaketh proud things. Who have said, with our tongue will we prevail, our lips are our own. Who is Lord over us? For the oppression of the poor, for the sighing of the needy, now will I arise, saith the Lord. I will set him in safety from him that puffeth at him. The words of the Lord are pure words, as silver tried in a furnace of earth, purified 7 times. Thou shalt keep them, O Lord. Thou shalt preserve them from this generation forever. The wicked walk on every side, when the vilest men are exalted. Well, here are my final thoughts as we think about the text in front of us this week. Being a godly father, and I'll add being a godly mother, being a godly person is hard. And living the Christian life faithfully is a daily struggle. It's a daily battle. We are going to witness frustrating injustices, and we will even find ourselves victims at some time to these injustices. And when we do, we're going to struggle with that. Satan is going to work through this world system to try to provoke us to be discouraged or to cause us to compromise and to trim corners and do things that we know scripturally are wrong. He's going to lure us into temptation. He wants us to become isolated. He wants us to embrace lies, specifically the lie that it's hopeless to live for God. And sadly, many people in our day at times find ourselves embracing the lies of Satan and believing that it's really not something we can do. We can't triumph. We can't overcome. We can't be victorious. These verses tell us, in fact, no, that's not true. We need to embrace truth. Satan wants to disrupt this current generation of fathers and mothers. He wants them to see that the labors that they're doing are not actually accomplishing anything. He wants them to think that it's impossible for them to raise up godly children. They see tragic situations and he wants them to think that, well, their situation has to be it because look at what happened to this person or that person. But the fact is, that's not how we should be thinking as Christians. He wants to stunt the development of the next generation of fathers and of mothers when their lives are being formed in the homes of their parents as they're developing in Sunday school and youth group and school and homeschooling, whatever the situation. He wants to stunt them during that time period. He wants their lives to be scarred by sinful choices. He wants them to become slaves to life-dominating passions. And so Satan is doing everything in his power to disrupt those who are raising children and to disrupt those who are being raised, who are going to be the next generation of parents. He wants to convince a generation of young men and young women that marriage doesn't matter. Raising children is too hard. This world is too evil. The times are too difficult. And to raise another generation in this time is unthinkable, unreasonable. It's irresponsible. That's what Satan wants you to believe. In fact, and frankly, a lot of peers of young people right now who are of marriageable age are championing those very ideas. And they don't realize that what they're doing is embracing the lies of Satan. And they are becoming popular lies in our society. But in fact, they're not true. He does not want people today to see the potential blessings of raising up a generation of godly, vibrant, strong, wise men and women who have been raised in godly homes. The fact is that as God's people, we have a duty, a moral obligation to the very best of our ability, raise up a godly seed, a godly generation. And in order to do that, we have to be willing to get married and have children. And we've got to be willing to actually do the hard things. And we've got to be willing to prioritize our life around eternal things, not superficial things and temporal things and the things around us that often grab people's attention. It's easy for us to become bitter and disillusioned and fearful. But this passage calls us to a totally different response. It tells us to get up, trust God, and get active in the work that He has called us to do. And so I want to remind you, you can rest in God's character, and you can rest in God's ways, and you can rest in God's word because His promises are sure. If God's going to keep His promises, there have to be people who decide they're going to have children and raise up a generation for God. And they're going to have to be successful in that work. And so when you decide you're going to raise a family, you're doing it as a Christian with a faith-oriented approach. You're saying, I believe the promises of God. I believe in the power of His word. I believe in the reality of His Spirit working. And I'm going to take these things and I'm going to endeavor to do things the way that He calls us to do it. We can be faithful fathers and mothers. Grandparents out there, encourage your children. They can be faithful fathers and mothers. We can fulfill our God-given duties because the gospel is real. The gospel actually saves. And there is an eternal purpose that we are having the privilege to actually be engaged in. And so the final thing I want to leave you with is have a wonderful weekend and go into the weekend with a very hope-oriented, gospel-centered, thoroughly biblical Christian perspective about these issues. Hope to see many of you on Sunday. Don't neglect the assembling of the Lord's people. We need the church of God, especially when we are raising up a generation of young people. Well, I hope that gives you some things to think about. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And Lord willing, we will see many of you on Sunday. Bye now.